All right, let's talk stretching because we never do. That's not one of those things you talk about. But in reading a column that Jill Barker had written in the Gazette last week, I thought to myself, you know what? I work out. We both sort of work out, right? Okay, maybe
you work out very regularly.
More than you.
You have a routine. I am lame. I do the once a week Pilates class and then I try and walk. But yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm not regimented like you are. I should be, but I'm not.
So I'm thinking because, yes, I work out. You want to do the right thing. And we all learned, I guess, years ago that stretching was a good thing to do, right?
Absolutely.
But the rules, I think, around this have kind of changed because, as I said in their tee up to this, we used to just be told, you're going to the gym, make sure you stretch first. And then we're told, wait a sec, you shouldn't stretch cold muscle. You just got to the gym. That's not the right thing to do. You should stretch warm muscle. In other words, work out a little bit or work out at the end and then stretch. So I thought, okay, are there new rules now? Because according to the column that I read from, that Jill wrote, there's new information here. So I want to get caught up on this. And I think handy for anybody else too.
Totally. Because what's the goal here? I think the goal is to not do any damage.
Exactly.
Right?
If you want to do something beneficial, great. Otherwise, why would you want to hurt yourself? So Jill Barker is on the line, Montreal Gazette reporter. Jill, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Am I right on this? So the rule, if you want to call it that, the rules on stretching have changed. Where are we at now?
Well, the rules on stretching changed quite a while ago. About the 2000s, they said, hey, if you stretch before your workout, you can compromise the performance of your workout. So really, flexibility in your joints affects your ability to create power and speed. So people, especially elite athletes who were stretching before, like running a 100-meter, they'd see a decrease in performance.
Okay.
So, and they also found out that stretching before your workout, like a static stretching, the old-fashioned hold for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, didn't decrease the risk of injury like they thought.
Okay. So
that was really quite, groundbreaking at the time. And so something called dynamic stretching was in. So it's like static stretching, but you don't hold. So you gradually take your joints through kind of a range of motion that would be similar to the activity you're going to accomplish. And then you start slowly, and then you increase the range of motion, and if needed, increase the speed. So there's none of that static, that holding under tension.
So you're always moving.
So you're always moving. So that's kind of your pre-exercise routine, and that's been around for a while. And then, static stretching took a hit. Nobody was really, when do you do it? If do you do it? Maybe you do it after a workout, but how many people really found the time? And like you said, Aaron, it's one of those things you say, I should, but everything else seems to take priority.
Right.
Well, because it feels like an extra workout on top of the workout you already did.
I just did this. What am I doing? Yeah.
Right. And, you think you've got enough flexibility, range of motion until you don't. And then you just play catch up.
That's a good point.
So, I think that static stretching is something that you do to kind of keep that range of motion. And I use that term, as we get older, our range of motion gets smaller. Our everyday life is like standing up and sitting. We don't do the more extreme ranges of motions you do if you're playing sports,
right,
or, you're a kid who's up and down and all over the place. So you get, your movement patterns get smaller and more repetitive.
So let me see if I can just take this to something we can all sort of recognize. Say, touching your toes, right? Which sounds like an easy enough thing to do. You don't need any special training for it. So with respect to stretching, you would go as far as you can go, like maybe your knee, your shin, whatever, and then eventually work down to your toes without trying to just do this one time as far as you can go?
Yeah, you want to always to increase that flexibility or that range of motion. You hold to the point of tension. So you go down as far as you can till you feel that slight bit of tension, and not pain, right? Just tension. And then you hold for about 15 seconds, and then you release, and you can repeat. Think of yoga. If you know of ever taken a yoga class, that's a classic, repetitive, static stretch.
Okay. You do yoga, don't you? Didn't you?
Yoga and Pilates. Okay. I'm wondering, Jill, are there specific muscles that we should be paying more attention to and making sure that we stretch?
I mean, it depends always on what your goals are. We get very tight in the hip flexor, so in the front of the thigh, like at the top of your thigh from sitting. So that's a good one to stretch. Your hamstrings and your quadriceps, those are all, your lower legs get quite tight. The other thing gets very tight is your chest. When you have those rounded shoulders, that's very tight in that chest. So opening up that chest is also very important for posture, breath, that type of stuff.
We're both straightening up. As you're saying that, we both just straightened up in our seats and improved our posture. But it's funny because sometimes it really is just that. You need the little reminder, right? To as soon as you said hip flexor too, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm always tight in the hips. But if someone just kind of reminds you to do it, the relief can be almost instantaneous. So is the idea like if you're doing it on a repetitive basis, you almost won't even need the relief?
Yeah, I think the weakness in this particular study is they didn't kind of give you the prescription, this many times a week. They basically said, we know it's not, you don't have to do it every day to, improve your flexibility, but we don't know much beyond that. Is it a once a week thing? So I think you want to try to do a regular stretching routine at least once a week. And I think at least initially you're going to see great improvement and you're going to feel better. And, it's pleasurable. There are things about exercise, I'm going to be totally frank, that maybe aren't as pleasurable, but stretching feels great.
Just one last thing, because we're going to run out of time. Say you've done your workout, whatever it happens to be. What is the stretching recommended once you've completed a workout?
Yeah, so that's a great time to stretch and really relax. And again, you want to be stretching those muscles that you've worked. Right, so that's one of the things. So if you've done a lower body workout at the gym, then you'd want to be stretching out that lower body and everything else that feels tight. Like I do think the chest is one of those things that we really need to work on because we all spend too much time in that forward position.
Right. Do you stretch it out with resistance even a little bit or not?
Yeah, a little bit of tight, just hold that tension for 15 seconds.
Okay.
Again, it should feel great, not painful.
Jill Barker, Montreal Gazette.
Thanks, Jill.
Couple of stretching tips. Thank you, Jill.
My pleasure.
Take good care.